What's going on, everybody? It's your boys, Coach Smook and Coach Sean, here with College Football Talk with the coaches for your what's this Wednesday night edition with the fellas, man. Coach Jay will not be with us tonight. He's getting ready to, do a big presentation. So definitely prayers up and support for the bro. Coach
Shout out to
Sean,
Coach
how you
Jay.
feeling, bro, tonight, man?
Feeling good, man. Shout out to the bro, Coach Jay, man. Hope everything go well, brother. We miss you, man. I know the chat miss you as well. Feel
For
good,
sure, man.
man. Feel good. Transfer portal is going crazy. A lot of college news out there. Ready to get to it.
Facts, man. And speaking of transfer portal, man, it was crazy. I was just on the show. Some of you all see me on the other side with Cici Payne, and we were talking about the transfer portal and things of that nature, and just this matchup coming in with the playoffs. This show we're not going to just be stuck on the Alabama matchup, but we're going to talk about some of the big bowl games that's coming up here. I want to say, isn't it this weekend the bowl game schedule starts to kick off?
Uh, Thought it
Let
was
me
next
look at
week.
it. What's this? Oh no, this Saturday we got Georgia Southern. Yeah, it's some
Okay.
games coming up, and we want to dive into them. I know a lot of y'all probably don't um follow some of these other teams. Some of y'all are just Bama fans, but here we like to talk good football. So we're going to look at some of these matchups and dive into a few of them, see what type of Alabama ties they may have, or what type of impact a win or loss can do for a certain team. So we're going to dive into it, but definitely want you all to run the likes up. We have 36 in the chat currently. Run the likes up, run the shares up, share it on all your social media platforms. As I get it pulled up and share it to my Twitter. Uh, you all can definitely, if you follow me or Coach Sean on Twitter, you can definitely go and reshare it or re-quote these posts. Um, like I said, this is our time, y'all. This downtime now between these games is definitely going to be big. Um, I think we can take advantage of the platform that we have. Shouts out to Kyle Henderson for providing us this platform. But let's just talk football tonight, man. Talk college football, talk some of the up and coming programs. It's going to be a good night, y'all. And while you have us for the next 45 minutes to, 45 to 50 minutes, we want to indulge in as much as possible. So as you run up the comments, we're definitely going to engage with you. Coach Sean, take it away, man. Talk about the transfer portal, some of the things you've been hearing, some of the things that's been kind of intriguing for you, not just for Alabama. Yeah, we're going to start off with Alabama, but not just for Alabama, but for college football in general.
First of all, let me say big shout out to Dominique Wesley. Big shout out to Travelpreneur Sports Podcast, home team, boy, Huntsville is what it is. It's where I live at presently. Well, I live in Madison, but here in the Huntsville area. Shout out to you guys, man. Roll Tide, to Bob Rutherford, IMAX 3D, Clinton Howard, join. That's a home team right there. Deontay Wallace, Spencer Kennedy, Keith Holcomb, everybody in the chat, man. Katrina, what's up with you, man? Home team right there again. Um, I feel good about it, man. But I'm gonna tell you something about this transfer portal, man. It's I was just telling Coach that it's like now they're using even the JUCO schools even the HBCU schools as JUCO schools. Several kids from these schools are transferring up. They're coming in, signing with the HBCUs, leaving, going to bigger schools. It's a kid right now out of South Carolina State. I think his name is Jawan Howell. He's got offers from Arkansas, got offers from NC State, Arkansas, offers from North Carolina. Several kids, even Tank Dell, that's in the NFL right now, that's hurt right now. Tank Dell was at my alma mater, and he transferred up, and you see how he's doing in the NFL. So what's happening is these kids are having opportunities to go to these Power Five schools, go to the HBCU, ball out, and transfer up, and it's working out. The transfer portal is, while it's weakening the schools at the lower levels, is strengthening the Power Five schools. So this transfer portal is really crazy right now. Kids flipping that I don't even understand why they're flipping. Like my man at Ohio State, Kyle McCord, a good number season. I mean, he didn't play bad. I mean, it's a lot of quarterbacks who play worse than him. You look at his numbers. His numbers are not just awful. I mean, I understand he didn't have some great plays. He made some mistakes during the season, during the biggest games, but to just transfer because of that. You know, I'm not saying that's the reason, but the transfer portal now is like dudes just switching teams. Cat Rocket Sanders from Arkansas going to South Carolina. So it's just like I don't understand it right now, man. It's a mess. They're gonna have to put some type of barriers, limits, something on all this, man, or it's just gonna get worse and worse.
Yeah, so I'm glad you even brought that up, man, because we don't ever get a chance to really go in depth of what we're going to talk about when it comes to these topics. Tonight's show is more so like like we're kind of firing from the hip, you know, if I could use some of the military terms. But the thing is, man, with college football and the way the transfer portal is, it's a lot of, 6 years ago you wouldn't have seen Dylan Gabriel after
Facts.
a season, where you beat Texas, but then you drop two, you transfer to another team in Oregon. I think Dylan Gabriel was going to Oregon.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, why? And
Why? Exactly.
Oregon had, and for me, this is where the transfer portal becomes an issue for me, because what are you saying to those players who you've gone out and recruited and they've set their
Mhm.
freshman year and played behind that transfer quarterback that came in, like Bo Nix came in and held it down for that 2 years that you needed to transition to this quarterback that you recruited. But now you're going to accept a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who's showing you what he is, and he's not anything special or spectacular. He thrived in the system, and when he saw other competition, just like he did when he was at UCF, he struggled. I don't get the value or what the evaluation process is for a lot of these teams and what they're accepting. I mean, even us accepting Tyler Buckner last year was a questionable thing for me. So I mean, transfer portal, like you said, when with the rule changes that are going to be initiated next year, being that you only get the one free transfer, where you transfer and you can be immediately eligible immediately to play that same season you transfer. That's going to be an adjustment to make kids really think, because you only get one free one.
Yeah.
And then after that you could transfer, but you're going to have to sit out a year for eligibility unless you're a graduate transfer. So it's going to get back to it's bringing back the old school mentality, the old school NCAA rules, but it's allowing that 18-year-old or that 17-year-old who committed to this university when they were in high school, because that's what their high school dream was, and they get there and they have a Bo Nix moment, after 2 years of giving your all to a university, and they trashing you, or they can't even support you by recruiting and securing recruits to help the team get better, help you get better, produce more value for you. Then you transfer like Bo Nix did. Bo Nix gave what 2-3 years to Auburn,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, well deserved. Well, if anybody had a reason to transfer and it paid off because they did it the right way, it was Bo Nix,
Yeah.
and other guys have done it. Jalen Hurts did it, waited till he graduated from Alabama. And I mean, back then it was a different type of deal, but I mean, that's what you want from guys. I don't see how guys feel like they're creating value for themselves by doing this. You just was a starter at Florida, but now you want to transfer because of how the team season ended. You know that you were a contribution to how that team season went. Do you know that? So even your individual value might not speak volumes at another university just because they accepted you. That's, to me, is more, to me, if I'm a coach, I'm using it more as bulletin board material, to keep the attention on me. And I feel like that's where it's coming to. And the teams that are actually doing the quality recruiting are starting to show up. And Alabama, Georgia,
Yeah.
even with names entering the portal, you won't find their names attached to any significant stats like some of these other schools. So that's where I'm sitting at right now with it. And if I could say one last thing, man, quality of transfer is going to be exposed tremendously this year. And like I said, Dylan Gabriel is the one that sticks out to me, because you won't see anything different from him going out there to Oregon. If anything, it might get worse for him with the realignment.
For me, shout out to DeMarco Brooks, Justin Summerall, and that's your people, man. Shout out to Bama boy,
Yeah,
DeQuan Menzie,
my boy
former
DQ
former
in the building.
former dog out there on that boundary. You know what I mean, doing his thing. You know what I
That
mean?
boy used to be at that start. He was
Yeah,
Daquan was
yeah,
that slim linebacker that played strong safety / corner, man. That
yeah,
boy
man.
used to, oh my God.
Yeah,
But
shout out
yeah,
to
man.
Big Menzie, man. Shout out to you, brother. Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Um,
What?
for me, bro, for me, man, Malik Murphy, what he transferring to? I can believe
That's
it,
crazy.
but I can
Well,
believe it. I can
yeah,
believe you.
because of the
You're
Archie
not gonna
Manning.
keep yes, you're not gonna keep the Manning off the field, bro. So for me, here's the thing. I played HBCU ball, so it was different, man. We was licking our chops for every moment to play, man.
Mm-hmm.
Every moment. Transferring was the most ridiculous. I ain't transferring nowhere, man. You know what I mean? Even when we had a coaching change, Coach Ron Cooper, even Coach Cooper, when he came in, he brought all them
Ooh.
dudes in. Yeah, he brought all them guys in from Louisville. Some of them was dogs, some of them was soft as mashed potatoes, man. You know what I mean? I'll never forget this linebacker. Man. I ain't gonna even call his name, man. I mean, this cat looked like a Greek god. He was about 6'3", 230. Swole, big neck, you know, he talking. Man, we get in practice and he hurt his, his little fingernail came off. He walking around holding his nail. I was flabbergasted. You understand what I'm like? What, bro? Who is these dudes? But long story short, people like DJU, no disrespect to that young man, but that man on his third school, like, how do you even value your college career when you're in your third school, like your third school, bro? He was at Clemson. Then he went to Oregon State, excuse me, and now he about to transfer again. So it's just like I don't even know how you value your teammates, how you have those relationships, transferring like that much. Like I can't even fathom being on the third school. So it's crazy. We got Nova J Speed. What do you say, Smoke? Man, I recognize my fellow veterans. Oh, that's you, Smoke, right there. That's you.
Look, not, and that's the thing. I was just telling them in the chat. I'm a vet, but Sean, he might as well be one. He works,
Yeah,
government contracts. So
yeah,
appreciate you for showing up. And I take it that you're a veteran too. So definitely appreciate you for your service, man, fellow brother and
yeah.
brother in arms. I appreciate it. My boy Carlos, he's back, man. We was just talking about you, man,
Shout out
and
to
these
Michigan.
crazies. We gonna get out. We're gonna get to this Michigan talk in a little bit, but tonight's dedicated to all of college football transfer
Yeah.
portal. We're on that topic right now. But
I wish I could get Daquan's. I wish I could get Daquan's spiel on this transfer portal, man. I would
I
love to
mean,
hear another former player's spiel on this transfer portal and how it's like now the kids aren't transferring because they're not playing anymore. They're just transferring because they want to. I mean, I don't even know the reasons anymore. They have
it's
good seasons and they're still transferring. It's
and
crazy.
that's what I'm more disappointed in. Um, you would expect, and this is what I say about society,
Facts,
man.
Nola Mike. Go ahead. I'm
You
sorry,
would
bro.
expect somebody to stand up, somebody with some type of influence to stand up and say this isn't right, this isn't
Yeah,
going to help. And when Coach Saban did that, even when Kirby Smart did it,
they got
and
criticized. Mhm.
and even to an extent, Dabo
Yeah,
said it would diminish the value of players making commitments, which he had a point. Now, for him not to wait 2 years to finally take advantage of what's happening in front of him to try to fight against the grain is not smart. If you want to talk about sustaining and being ahead of the game, but the ones that have success, the successful programs that have long gated success, meaning success over extended amount of time, they were definitely against the structure of the transfer portal, not
yeah,
against it, but the structure of it, especially when NIL got involved. And that's what's going to hurt a lot of these teams. You got people writing checks, and when these kids show up, they're not what the hype.
yeah,
A lot of these people writing checks, they don't go to these high school football games and watch these kids and who they playing against. They just going off of what the media is saying, and they
yeah,
writing a check because David Pollock said Nick Saban and the dynasty was done. How does that turn out for David Pollock? He looks like a freaking fool, but guess what? Those people that wrote them checks after he said that, they look like fools too, even though they
yeah,
face ain't to it. They face ain't on the front of it, but they money is on it, and people don't like to be their money to be messed with, and that's what the transfer portal is doing right now. You're going to see a lot of kids images and a lot of their mentalities be be diminished because of the lack of parameters that's surrounding the transfer portal. But with the new rule changes, I think it's going to cause guys to really stick it out, go back to similar to the old school values. And I go as far as to speak on behalf or those guys that's been in those situations, because you had a guy like DeQuan who didn't start his career at Alabama,
Right.
had to come in from a lower level school. And even when he came in that first year, he wasn't a starter. He became a rotational player.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like that same system, when Coach Saban goes out to the JUCOs or the transfer portal, he goes to get guys that are ready to be effective now. I don't see that. Dylan Gabriel goes to Oregon. You got a backup quarterback at Oregon who's shown that he's growing in that system. Why go out and get another Dylan Gabriel? That's what I'm saying. The messages are just too mixed up for me. So it's, to me, it's good and bad, like anything else. But at the end of the day, it's here, and you're going to see. And I think 2024 is the year you're going to see where that transfer portal and how to navigate it is really going to affect it, because guys were even sitting out like week 4 and week 5 of the season when they felt like the team wasn't going to make it. You know,
Bro, I'll
college
tell
free
you.
agency, basically.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I look at Division One AA, and they've obviously been had a playoff. But if you look at Division One AA, and I think our football, the P5 football, is going to be the same way. If you look at the Division One AA football, even though they have a tournament, it's really the same teams: North Dakota State, South Dakota State. I think every once in a while, Montana or somebody being. It's like the same little 4 schools that's in
But,
their championship all the time.
and you know what? I appreciate you saying that, because now if they're doing it on that level, and it's been like that for what, 15, 21 years, I want to say now, it's been like that. If they're doing it on that level, and you see the competition continue to play out in
Yeah,
the same cycle, what makes you think on the highest level, where you're getting the best of the best to the best of the best,
yeah,
every one-off year you might have a Louisville pull up with a hot team, you might have a Cincinnati, you might have a TCU, but historically your best wins are going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Florida might slide in there every now and then, Auburn slides in there, LSU slides in there. I mean, and that's just the last national check. Texas is back on the rise, I believe. Seriously, going to start being a more serious contender for the years to come. Um, I mean, and outside of that, you won't see top 4, top 5. Washington won't be in the same spot next year.
yeah,
Oregon, regardless of who they go in to get in the transfer portal this year, they will not be in the same position next year. Michigan will not be in the same position next year. And I mean, it's just a sad thing to see, but at the same time, it also it's an interesting thing to watch as a football fan, to see coaches like Coach Saban and Coach Kirby Smart, withstand the transitions and continue to just evolve and stay ahead of the game.
yeah. It's crazy, man. I think this, you're going to still see, like you said, the same 4 or 5 schools will be in there. But I think with the way I listened to Joe Klatt say something, and I think he beats the drum for the non-SEC school, anything opposite Alabama, Georgia, LSU, right? They just want a chance. Just give them a chance. It's broken. We understand. We understand that it's 5 Power 5 conferences. You only have 4 slots. And I do believe that we just been getting lucky. Like every year, it kind of takes care of itself. You know what I mean? And they get a way to make it all work out. Well, this year, it wasn't going to work out. It wasn't going to work
Mm-mm.
out. So somebody was going to be left out. If you had left Bama out, it would have been just as much outrage, just
Even
as much
more.
outrage. Yeah.
Even more,
So
because then now your analysts that have jumped on the Alabama hype train after the LSU victory, now they got to
yeah,
come back and defend why they felt like Alabama was one of the best teams, even though, I mean, it's all media driven.
yeah,
But to get off of that, man, I mean, transfer portal news is always going to be big. One of the big names for us was Ja'Cory Brooks. I think well deserving of the opportunity to go somewhere and be the guy.
yeah.
It's just the opportunities. He missed opportunities here this season. As great of as many opportunities and big plays as Ja'Cory Brooks has made for Alabama during his career, it was key moments in this season where, as a leader in that room or the season guy in that room, I mean, Ja'Cory Brooks has 4 of the 17 drops for Alabama's wide receiver core this season. And I mean, they've recorded 17 total drops by this wide receiver core, which is a big drop, a big improvement from last year where we had 38 total drops in the season going into postseason play. So of 17, you're accounting for 4 of them. You're almost accounting for a quarter of the drops. And that's been a consistent thing with Ja'Cory Brooks. He has big catches, but he also has big drops. I think it's just the opportunity for him to get away, kind of like Bo Nix did, get a fresh start, and not have that expectation set on. Ja'Cory Brooks came in with high expectations, and for him to not be a consistent starter over the past 2 years, I could even go as far as stretch it as 3 years. It's something that's not clicking, but you definitely want him to go and experience what he's worth, because that's a valuable receiver. What's your take on some of the guys from Alabama that's currently in the transfer portal before we jump into just the transfer portal guys available in general?
I think Ja'Cory's transfer is well deserved. I mean, I would like to see this kid stay and battle it out, but I get it. He an older kid. Ja'Cory was, I think if I'm not mistaken, Ja'Cory was there when J-Mo was there. That was Ja'Cory's
Right.
freshman year. So, he's deserved the opportunity to transfer if he like. I get it. The younger kids who came in and sort of engulfed him in the depth chart. So I get it. I totally understand how it go. The other young men, Anquan Barnes, I wish he had stuck it out a little longer. That kid got some talent. I think he's going to go somewhere else. And you know how it is with defensive linemen. It take D linemen, most D linemen, not all. It take most D linemen a couple years to really, get to understand the system, to get the physicality of college football. It's a lot of D linemen that come in and not ready to play. Some are forced to play. It take a couple years to play defensive line, man. You know what I mean? We saw Caden on the offensive line, how bad he struggled, and this kid was super talented. So playing in the trenches is a lot different. I tell people all the time, my biggest adjustment, playing skill positions, outside of the practices being way different, way more up tempo, and the skill position wasn't really that big of a transition, but playing in those trenches, man, and playing like in the secondary, that's a lot different, especially playing at Alabama, with that type of system they run, and so I would like to see that man stay, but I get it. I I don't know too much about Hastings, but I hear Anquan Barnes was coming along. Kid was physical, big, and so I hate to see him transfer. But nowadays, with the other schools offering NIL the way they do, you almost can't even really be mad about it, man. I mean, think about it. Like we just said, you got kids that's transferring that don't even really have a reason to transfer. So
Right.
what do you do?
Right. And I could see with Anquan Barnes and Isaiah Hastings off the defensive front, there are some names in the portal right now that we're looking at on that defensive front that I honestly believe are really coming to Bama. And these guys are proven talents. A lot of people have been hyped on Walter Nolan, but that's not even the guy I'm excited about. It's this LT Overton, this defensive tackle. I think with a guy, if we can get that guy secured, I could see why Isaiah Hastings and Anquan Barnes left, because Overton can come over and be your second tackle with Keenan today, right now, and keep Otis on the perimeter. And Overton can even slide out and be your Aboigbe. He's a more athletic Aboigbe, honestly. Well, I ain't gonna say athletic, more a healthier Aboigbe.
Yeah.
And like I said, Aboigbe having that injury last year really put him behind the power curve. But you see the type of numbers and the type of impact he's been able to put up.
His best season.
I mean, easily.
Yeah.
And it's because he's finally healthy. 7 games in, he's finally gotten comfortable and feeling like he can return to that dog that he was coming into Alabama. And just
let me say this, Coach. Move to your point real quick. I didn't think about that. That's actually a good point, because in college football, I don't think a lot of people understand, but your scholarship is really, they have this word called attrition, right? Your scholarship is really a year-to-year thing, right? They say it's a 4-year thing, and it could be 4 years. It could be, but don't get it twisted. If you get in there and you're not what they thought and you don't play well, they don't have to renew your scholarship, right? And it's sort of a dirty business, because if a better player comes along, they can send you packing, right? So that could be what's going on. It all depends on their scholarship limits. You know what I mean? If they don't have a lot of room, they could be clearing room for somebody else. That does happen every school, from HBCUs on up. It happens everywhere. Trust me.
And you got to look at it with this class. You got to think, we lose a scholarship because Ryan Williams reclassifies, right?
Yeah.
And these scholarships, they're not just, you don't have a certain amount for transfers, and then you
Fact.
got a total amount for that class that you're signing, the commitments for that year. And I think Alabama has 26 this for this 24 class. That's including transfers, that's including JUCO guys, that's including your high school seniors that are committed to you. So do you bank on everybody sticking around? No, that's what makes Saban and his staff, or however he's been working it the past 6-7 years. That's why I say that's what separates Alabama from the rest, because this will be the first year we finally get to see Georgia experience something like this. They have some key guys leaving, or some guys that were lying in the wait that they thought would be the next ones up. They're leaving. The Jones Jr. kid, I believe he was going to
Yeah.
be, with more reps. You could tell when guys are out there playing anxious because they don't want to lose the reps. They want to make sure they impact the reps, and he's one of those guys for Georgia. Even the Greenland kid, the DB from Georgia. Uh,
Yeah.
I just, those are guys you're like, dang, why he didn't stay, Nyland Greenland. But I mean, look at what he was behind. Look at who he's playing for. So it's going to be interesting to see how this transfer portal continues to shape out. Another few names that I want to highlight, man, and I'm not sure if you familiar with this guy, but this running back Raleek Brown, the fact that he left USC and is going
Yeah.
to be at
Little short,
Arizona
quick,
State.
fast cat. Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, man. I mean, you saw what Arizona State was able to do in games against teams like USC and Oregon. Like, they were able to be competitive if they had a few more spots, especially on their fronts, their defensive end and their offensive fronts. But they're looking like they're dialed into creating value. Arizona State, by going and getting this running back.
Yeah.
You might be losing a key guy in your backfield. You got a 2-3 headed rotation that you like to run in that backfield. Go ahead and get you another guy that's proven, that's been playing in the same conference, same league. And I mean, they went and did it.
I'm gonna save you, Carlos. Coach Smoot got a little something for you a little later on, brother. We gonna
Man,
save you. Stay in here, Carlos. We gotta.
Carlos is enjoying this time he's enjoying this downtime because he knows he doesn't have to answer to anything for another, however many days we got left in this year. What's that? About 18 days. So he got plenty of time to just be a troll and do what he do, man. I like it, man, because all I do is, when I get quiet over here, y'all see me looking down, I'm screenshotting Carlos, and you're gonna be a highlight. You're gonna be my highlight film. I promise you, man. It's gonna be so funny when you have to show up and answer to this. And I'm telling you, everybody here right now in Alabama Nation that's watching this show, it's 124 viewers. You was in here the other day with 800 some viewers, and you were talking that craziness about Michigan, man. It's gonna be fun to see how you come back around. Like I said, I just pray that we don't have none of the crazy Bama fans, none of the Harvey Upchurch guys. Yeah, I hope we don't have none of them guys. What's I said Harvey Upchurch,
Updike.
Van Dyke, Updike. I said,
Yeah. Let me say
yeah,
this to Carlos. Carlos, one of your fellow brethren, Taylor Lewan, that played for Tennessee all those years with Derrick Henry, he got on Twitter and he tweeted out that he watched film of Alabama and Michigan should win by 2 scores. That told me right there, and I've always thought this, and I had to explain this to my former teammates. Remember this, Carlos, just because you played football don't mean you can teach it. You understand what I'm saying? Just because you played the game does not mean you have the mentality to teach it. You may have the mentality to watch film on your position and diagnose what you need to do to get better, but that does not mean you can diagnose a game plan from one team to another. Because if he watched the film on Michigan and came up with we should win by 2 scores, then I have to question that man what the hell he watching, right?
right. I mean, come on, y'all, Carlos. Not just Carlos, but college football. Let's talk about the big games first. Let's talk about our game first. Alabama, Michigan. If you really can, and this is not a fan talking right now. This is somebody that wants to see a good college football game. My thing is, I don't want to see a good game at the expense of my team having to play a bad game to make it a good game. You get what I'm saying? Like the fact that Alabama played C minus, C plus, range offensively against Georgia and still was able to go in and beat the number one team in the nation. And Michigan doesn't provide near the amount of talent questions, or they don't provide the athleticism factor that Georgia provided for us to have to account for. This is going to be ugly. Like, I mean, bad. It's to the point where the fact that people might have the ammunition to say Michigan is another TCU, shouldn't have been in the playoffs type move, or Michigan is another um Alabama, Michigan State type feel. That's what I'm getting. Alabama get, but I feel like this team with Tommy Reese and the way this offense struggled against Georgia, Tommy Reese is about to dial up the best game of his career, best play calling of his career, and it's is one, he's got a month to prep for it, basically a month to prep for it, but he's doing it under the tutelage of Coach Saban, who's not going to allow the outside factors of this new phase in his career as far as coaching, the media, the travel, this is something that Coach Saban has been going through for the past 15 years, man. Kevin still has had experience in it. Tommy Reese literally can just sit back and rely on the people around him so he could just be creative and dial up plays against a struggling Michigan defense who allowed teams the like of Maryland, Ohio State, even Iowa was finding success. Iowa, who's in the bottom, 125 or some crazy number like that as far as offensive production, was able to, give looks. Like if they had a wide receiver, a running back, or a quarterback, Iowa could have gave y'all a closer game than what it really was. So the numbers, the scoreboard don't say a lot for Michigan with how they have been able to fare this season. And I think that's going to hurt you all seriously, man. I almost don't want to talk trash to you, but you're so consistent, man. It's almost fun.
I'll say this to you, Carlos, and every other Michigan fan that's in the chat. If we talking football, just being real, all fandom aside, you said Iowa's terrible, Carlos. Stop it. Anyway, I don't think you guys will have an answer for Jalen Milroe. I looked at your schedule. You hadn't played one team with the talent that Jalen Milroe has, as far as with his legs and with his deep ball. You hadn't played one quarterback on your entire schedule like that. Also, I watched the Ohio State game back, and I'm gonna tell you something, Carlos. Ohio State lost that game because they were schematically terrible, right? They had things that worked against you guys. The Henderson little running back was killing you guys. They just stopped running him for some reason. Tried to turn JJ, what's his name, Cal McCord into Peyton Manning for some reason. I don't understand that. It's like they were beating their heads against the wall for some reason. I'll tell you this too, JJ McCarthy. He has not. I looked at your schedule, Carlos. You have not played one secondary that's in the top 15 in the country. Not one. The secondary you're going to face against Alabama will be by far the best secondary you played all season long.
The number 6, when it comes to pass defense, Alabama is ranked number 6. Your pass defensive rankings and statistics are based off of how they're attacked. If Alabama is defending 79% or 78% of the passes thrown in air, meaning a small percentage, less than 30% of those passes are wide open passes. You think a guy like JJ McCarthy, who has by far, I mean, the percentages don't tell what JJ McCarthy does as a quarterback. He barely gets by as a quarterback. The QBR 89.2. Look at the pass defenses you're playing. No team you have played has a defensive ranking, overall defensive ranking in the top 40. It's like Ohio State was the best team defense you played, and even what's keeping them in that position is the fact that they have a quote unquote tough run defense. Their pass defense is horrible, and you all struggle is the matchup just doesn't seem favorable. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Jim Harbaugh and their staff for what they might be able to devise, but it's going to be a tough task to even sniff the 50. I feel like this is going to be one of those games where Michigan is going to be a tough task. If y'all don't start at 35, y'all probably not going to see the 50 until after halftime.
Let me say this, because Dolomite is right on track with what I was trying to say. Dolomite said Ohio State game plan was to give the ball to Harrison. They made it easy. That is exactly what I was saying, Dolomite. You are spot on. It's like they tried to feature Marvin Harrison when the running game was working. It's like they got impatient. Michigan got ahead, and it's like they
Mm-hmm.
panicked. Let's just start throwing the ball all over the field. When you're not that kind of team, I assure you, Bama won't do that. I assure you, Bama won't do that. And if we're really talking football, Penn State secondary is terrible. Stop it, bro. They got one good corner, and the rest of those guys are suspects. Stop it, Carlos. You starting to
And
make me
he
you starting to make me wonder, Carlos. I thought
who
you knew
has
this
he
game.
faced? Who has he faced this season other than the Marvin Harrison, who had his way with everybody in that league? Everybody, double cover, triple coverage. I mean, he had his way with Michigan. It was just even the last pick that Kyle McCord threw. If he takes that sack and just dials it up again, Marvin Harrison is probably beating that secondary for another big play, like he had been doing that whole game. But to your point, Coach Sean, Henderson was, I mean, just he was literally the offense for Ohio State, and they went away from him. You don't think we have the capability to trot out a Roydell Williams, Jam Miller, Justice Haynes being unleashed after being capped all season, being bottled up all season? I honestly believe the moment we get a glimpse of what that kid could do early in the game, Coach Saban and Coach G will not take, a guy like Haynes off the field after he gets started. There's no stopping that once he gets started, especially in the postseason. We saw Najee Harris come on the scene in the postseason. Georgia SEC championship game, and then the playoffs following that, we saw Najee Harris's and Josh Jacobs impact for the rest of the time they were at Alabama from those big games. So I see similar things happening. But not to stay on this, Michigan ain't the only team out there. We do have another matchup in the college football playoff that's going to be after Alabama, Michigan, and it's going to be Washington, Texas. And a lot of people, like myself, are split down the middle with this game because with 3 weeks to prep, it changes a lot for both of these teams. Coach Jay is one that he has some faith in that Washington defense. I'm more so on leaning on the side that Washington's offense is the key to them having any type of success, because I feel like they can score with anybody. But the point of the matter is, will they have the opportunity facing that defensive front from Texas? I don't think Texas's offense is explosive by any means, but it is schemed by one of the best, if not the best, offensive minds in college football right now, and that's Steve Sarkisian. How does that matchup look to you, Coach Sean? And where's the advantage for either team?
For me, I think Texas is going to win this game. I don't think Washington has enough athletes overall to stop Texas a full game. Washington has a very good passing offense, and Texas back end is suspect, right? But Steve Sarkisian has a complete team, man. To me, Texas got a deep, and you asking to play one game, Texas defense is going to be on them, man. That Texas defensive front is physical. Their front seven is physical. I think Texas has an advantage running with the run game against Washington's defensive front. I do. I think Texas has an advantage with their coach. I think a lot of misdirection and getting those guys confused on in the front seven. I think Texas has a big advantage with that. Now, Penix is going to get his. Michael Penix in that passing game is very explosive, but I don't know if Washington can hold up with that team all 4 quarters, right? I think the best team Washington played was probably Oregon, right? And if you watch the Oregon game, for some reason, Dan Lanning attacked them the exact same way, minus a few extra Knicks runs. He didn't do anything different. So Washington could play them honest. He didn't do anything to make these guys come out of their comfort zone. You better believe Texas is going to. I mean, look no further than the game. I think they played Washington in the bowl game last year, right?
Yeah.
I think Texas and Washington played in the bowl game. I don't know what the score of that game was, and I don't even know who won, but I would be willing to bet that Texas may have beaten them. I don't know. I don't know, but Texas was a different team last year, so I don't really know. But I can tell you this: it's just like Coach Smoot just said. When it comes down to coaching, Washington has a very good coach, man. But Steve Sarkisian is going to throw the kitchen sink at this Washington defense. They're going to have to defend the entire field against Texas, the entire field. Something that they really don't do. Oregon is spread out like that, but Oregon uses a lot of quarterback run. Steve Sarkisian is not going to do that. He's going to bring misdirection. He's going to bring all type of option routes. with the just everything, man. This guy will pull out the stops. The RPO will be on full display when they play Texas. I think Texas has the advantage in the run game. I think Washington may have advantage in their passing game against Texas back end, but I still see Texas with the win.
And to your point, Washington did pull the game out last year,
Okay.
but Texas they that was Quinn Ewers coming back from a injury prone season, like similar situation, but they didn't rely on their run game last year like they have this season. And Texas has two young backs in Blue and Cedric Baxter. I think that's the kid's name. Cedric Baxter. Those guys are going to be able to present a running threat that Washington I don't think has seen as far as the running backs. I think Washington problem was defending the mobile quarterback like most defenses, and you have that with Quinn Ewers, who is sneaky athletic. But I saw a comment and I saw a question in the chat asking about Texas backup QB. He says Texas backup QB just hit the portal, so what will they do if they QB goes down? I think you should have wait till the end of the playoffs to transfer. I think when kids go into these situations, there's always been a conversation. I know at Alabama, there's always a conversation that's been had. Guys like Isaiah Hastings, Ja'Cory Brooks. Isaiah Hastings I think he's only seen the field like 3 games this season. But a guy like Ja'Cory Brooks, I think there's a conversation that's been had. He's probably there has to be a relationship there for you to be there 4 years and been involved like you have. I think out of respect and the way that Coach Saban does things, I think a conversation was had. Hey son, this is the plan going forward. Anything you need as far as me helping you, showcase your value, I'm here for you. But this is the plan that we have, barring any extenuating circumstances. You're not in the immediate look or you're not in that immediate circle of what I want this team to be going forward. And that's not a bad thing. You can respect people, mature minds can respect leaders like that give you straight up what you work. So you don't continue to go out there and risk pulling a hamstring at practice when you could be just working out to stay fresh, to be ready for continue to create value for yourself. So this is one of those situations. I see the turnover, the talent difference as far as the quarterbacks in that Texas room. I don't see it being too much different with Murphy and Archie Manning. I think honestly, if Manning gets thrown out there, I think that's kind of what Sarkisian wants. Honestly, he wants an opportunity to put this guy in the fire. And with this defense and the way Washington was able to pass against them last season, this defense isn't the same defense from last year in that bowl game. I'm with you, man. I just think Texas kind of has the edge because of their defensive front and what they could do as far as getting pressure on the quarterback. I saw other teams with less talent get pressure against Penix. But Penix is a difference maker. He's a playmaker. And it's just curious to see how many opportunities he can take advantage of with a defense like Texas. And honestly, bro, I think we're not giving Texas's secondary enough credit because they were beat up in key spots throughout the season too. Not anything that guys were out for like 8 weeks or anything like that, but every game seemed like somebody in their secondary was going down in the first or second quarter, and it'd be key positions, and then they have to show up and rebound the next week. So I'm excited to see it. I do have Texas pulling it off though. I said it was going to be a 4-point type win for whoever wins it. It can go either way, but I think Texas defense just provides the difference for them.
Shout out to James Richardson, Dogs fan. Shout out to you, James. We
appreciate
you.
I was going to go to that game next, man. The Bulldogs and the Florida State Seminoles, man.
And Travelpreneur Sports Podcast, you're 1,000% correct, bro. Their wide receivers will be probably the best overall that they've seen this year. Their wide receivers is dogs. I give them that credit.
Yeah, Washington has like LSU has 3 wide receivers. Mm-hmm. If they come out with their respective classes, they can definitely be one of the top 3 receivers coming off the board. And I would have to go back and look at what classes they coming up. But I think the guy Roman, the big play guy for Penix and Washington, that kid, man, he's one of those quiet dogs, man, where he just makes plays all the time. Kind of like Mechie was for us for
Mhm.
2.5 years, where he just made plays. The numbers weren't mind blowing, but every time you saw big plays being made or that run the film back, Mechie's making a big catch, or he's involved in a big play some type of way.
Before you go to that Georgia game, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about this? Because this, to me, is one of my favorite games. What do you feel about that Ohio State and Missouri game?
I think Missouri comes in, and because of what's happening at the Ohio State quarterback position,
Yeah, I forgot
this
about
is a
that. Yeah, that
this
quarterback.
this is the game where, but I'm gonna tell you this: a lot of Ohio State fans, and I was talking about this with mentioned it briefly on another show. A lot of Ohio State fans were sold on the backup quarterback trying being the starter at the beginning of the season. McCord coming in they thought it was going to be more of a push to have the other guy, but I don't know, man. The feels of it based off the Ohio State fan base, they want this backup quarterback coming in, but I'm looking at this Missouri offense and what they were able to do against Georgia
Yeah.
with that running back, man. Everybody think it's just Luther Burden at the wide receiver, but they have a tight end that's a solid pass catcher. Their offensive line, though they're not the biggest or the most athletic, these guys know they're sound fundamentally. You have 1,000-yard rusher, almost 1,500-yard rusher in Cody Schrader, and almost 1,200-yard receiver in Luther Burden. I mean, you have numbers there. You got a 600-yard receiver behind him. Your tight end, 17 solid catches where he's a touchdown machine for as far as tight ends are concerned. Um, I mean, Brody Cook, the Brady Cook, I call him Brody, but Brady Cook, man, he's a consistent guy. He's been in the league for so long. It seems like is like when he came on as a freshman, you don't remember him being any different. It's like he's so consistent with what the numbers he's been producing. I'm excited to see Missouri go in and play this Ohio State team. I think they get a chance to prove that they are going to be a contender in the SEC with Eli Drinkwitz and what he's doing with that staff and how they're recruiting, able to lock down in-state talent. Their two primary guys on the offense, their two stars are in-state guys, and he's doing it again in this recruiting cycle. So I'm excited. I'm
I,
excited to see Missouri probably pull off this win.
I think Missouri secondary is better than Ohio State secondary, especially with that corner. I think Missouri's secondary as a whole is better, right? Um, that's going to be a good game. I think Ohio State might be better slightly in the defensive front if you're going on individual talent, not necessarily playing together. Um, so it's going to be that's going to be a really good game. I think that's going to be a
Stop
really good game.
1 second. This is not true. If you want to be real, a lot of Lane Kiffin's, a lot of Lane, and this comment for those that are trying to figure out. Sarkisian got his playbook from Kiffin when he was here with us. Think about it. He's
They coached together at
always
USC.
exactly. They come from Pete Carroll.
Mhm.
That's Lane Kiffin, and his basis of what he does offensively comes from the likes of the Pete Carroll tree, that extended West Coast spread. That's what I look at it because it's derived from the West Coast style offense. It's just spread out more, taking advantage of space. And Sarkisian, to me, does a better job creating mismatches with his play calling and how he aligns formations than what Lane Kiffin does. My thing with Lane Kiffin is just so dialed in to the point where he doesn't go away from mismatches that are working. He doesn't waste time
Mhm.
trying to exploit other.
Yeah.
The moment he finds one, he's going to ride it. I.e., was that Devontae Smith with
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin?
He'll continuously go to it, man.
Until you stop
Yeah,
it.
till
That's
you
what
stop
makes
it.
Lane Kiffin
Yeah.
what he is. He's an obvious. I'm gonna go with the obvious until you stop it. Sarkisian is one that will continue to have success by just presenting you. He makes you think, dang, okay, we're kind of dialed in on this part of the face, but dang, he showed us this too. If the
Yeah.
quarterback mess around and see that, we beat, which we saw when we saw Bama and Texas play. We saw where if Sarkisian wanted to go back to a certain play call, the very next play, he probably would have had a big play or a touchdown down the streak or the way a offensive line block for them at some point. But Sarkisian is more so. I'm gonna just keep spreading them out to see what I can go
Yeah.
to late in the game. So I think
Starks
that's where.
Starks' MO is he'll run the same play out of multiple different formations. It'll be the exact same play, exact same blocking scheme, but it'll be a totally different formation, right? And I watched one of his coaching clinics, and I had saw that, and he was teaching it.
Yeah,
Let's run this play, the same play, just another other way out of a different formation. Exact same play, exact same blocking scheme. Pull the inside guard. It just he's a very I like both of their offenses, man. In
me
today's
too.
football, those type of offense will be successful, right? You got to have really special defenses to stop those guys for 4 quarters, especially with the rules nowadays. And let me say this real quick. I know we're off to Michigan. We moved on. But I'll say this: I love a good troll. I love it. I enjoy it. I love to talk football with trolls. But Carlos, I hope you're not one of these fans that just talk to be talking. I like to talk football. Do you really? I want to know. Do you know the difference in 3 and 5 technique? Do you know the difference in backpedaling and scooching? Like, if you can talk that kind of stuff with me, then we can troll each other. But if you just trolling just to be trolling, I don't know, Carlos. You've said some ridiculous things, and it's starting to
Right,
make me think you believe it.
man. You know what? And we talked on Washington, Texas. We talked on uh Ohio State, Missouri. A lot of these teams that have to come and play the new SEC style of offense, it's something that I don't think the rest of college football has truly grasped, because everybody likes to be on the train of ACC beat SEC. Y'all beat the bottom feeders. Y'all struggle to beat the
Yeah,
bottom feeders of the SEC. You can't tell me you have confidence. Like, if Florida State had seen Alabama week 2, Alabama's blowing Florida State out. It's very few teams outside of the SEC that could come in and take on our top end. And I'm saying Georgia, Alabama. This year you could put Missouri in there. This year you could put Kentucky in there. This year you could put I mean, you caught LSU week one. Week one.
right.
Like, LSU, Florida State, week 6 is a different game. It's
And then they're
actually
counting Wake Forest over Vanderbilt. They're counting that as look what we
right.
did. Stop it, bro.
Come on, Vanderbilt is really they're not they're a strong ACC team that's stuck in the SEC. If Vanderbilt, if you know what, and I always do this on NCAA when I start my offline dynasties. I always take Vanderbilt and I put them in the ACC, and I switch them out with either Miami or Florida State,
Yeah.
and it never pans out in the game. It never pans out good for Florida State. Or I take Michigan and Ohio State, and I bring them to the SEC and send away Vanderbilt and in Arkansas, or Vanderbilt and who else I like to mess with just to make their fans mad. Yeah, Vanderbilt and Arkansas is usually the teams I just send away. But I mean, it's crazy how a Michigan has not seen success, real success. Your success up until last year was beating Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's all you've been, other than Kirk Herbstreit and Des Howard and the other analysts that have ties that are on in front of the TV every Saturday for college football. Michigan is irrelevant. And if it wasn't for them sign stealing, getting exposed for sign stealing, they probably wouldn't have been that big of a story this year. Honestly, I think that's the only reason you're a story this year, because you're still in after being exposed for obviously cheating. And I don't care. At the end of the day, I'm a football player. You could come and get my playbook. You can sit there and watch me
Facts.
call the plays. You still
Facts.
have to go out there and beat my guys. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Marquetta, East, and
I do.
Ruggs. Is this who I think it is? Appreciate you for pulling up Marquetta Ruggs. But yeah, if that's you, say what's up again, because I think I know who that is. I don't want to put no names on nothing just yet. But yeah, back to the overall college football talk. I mean, I think Vegas is going to tell the story for what this Michigan and Alabama game is going to be at the end of the day. If y'all really think sign stealing is cheating, I will stop watching this show. Come on. Nope. It is cheating. Why you got to steal signs? You still got to play the game. We're not saying it's the difference in how you win and lose a game. But to say, if you got to go outside of your playbook, other than what's happening on the field, you telling you're giving guys keys to look for. There's a difference between looking for keys, motions, looking at sets, looking at film study, and looking for keys so that you can know what to slide your defense into. But to go and actually have somebody sitting on the sideline of another university, another program's game in shades with video cameras to get into their playbooks. And these are teams that you're going to see. This is not like a random team. These are teams that you actually have on your schedule year in and year out. The fact that they're able to go back and verify this guy being on sidelines 2-3 years ago, Michigan wasn't relevant up until 2 or 3 years ago. Like, come on, y'all were dropping the big games, but all of a sudden now y'all handling teams. I mean, there has to be something that has to go and look into. Sign stealing is cheating. The fact that you don't think is not cheating is crazy. This ain't baseball. This is football.
And I'll say this, Carlos, and all Michigan fans, if you guys have to commit resources with cameras and other people sitting in the dadgum stands and what, bro, stop it. If we being honest, like all trolling aside, I watched your team get whipped by Georgia, right? Whipped. It wasn't even the game. Georgia dudes were laughing at you like you got whipped. Then I watched your team the next season get whipped by TCU. You got like, bro, you got whipped by TCU just a year ago, bro. 12 months ago, TCU, a team that was a scrimmage game for Georgia, a scrimmage game. You got beat by them. I watched Ohio State get beat by Bama 2 years prior, right? 52 to 24. Like, and if you want to talk about, see, here's the thing, Carlos. Let me say this, Coach Moot. When the team gets a win over an SEC school, they relish that, right? But I got some more stats for you since everybody want to hold the beginning of this season against the SEC. Here's the bowl season last year. Here's some wins for you right here, Carlos. SEC. Georgia whipped Ohio State, even though it was a close game, they lost. Tennessee beat Clemson. Mississippi State beat Illinois. LSU beat Purdue like they stole something, 63-7. So y'all got to stop. And this is at the end of the season, Carlos, not the beginning. This is at the end when you're supposed to be a complete team. So you can't talk facts with me, Carlos, because I know this game too well, right? You guys catch a win over an SEC squad. Look what we did. Look what we did, brother. In the games that matter, the college football playoff, your teams have been embarrassing. I can take it back even farther to DeQuan them days, even around that time. Your Michigan State was your Big Ten champion.
Yeah,
Alabama beat them like they stole something. Right,
man.
I watched real quick, Coach Moot. I watched a Big 12 champion. Right, Jalen Hurts had transferred there. They was a champion. They was the Big 12 champ. I watched LSU score 40 points on them boys in the first half. Like, we got to stop, Carlos. Let's just be honest. Let's be real. It's a reason why 68, 64, 65 players get taken from this conference every year. It's a reason for that. It's a reason why Alabama had the most Pro Bowlers for the third year straight again. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be honest, Carlo. I can respect if you say, you know what, you're right, Coach Sean. You're right, Coach Smoot. We fighting the uphill battle, but we still coming to fight. All of this, we got to win in the first game of the season. It sounds ridiculous, but I like you though, Carlos. You're very entertaining.
I'm over it, man. I'm ready for the game at the end of the day. I'm ready for all these matchups. One big matchup that we didn't get to go to that I really want to talk about. There's been a lot of controversy behind us getting in and Florida State not getting in. I'm really excited to see this Georgia Florida State matchup. At the end of the day, man, Florida State not having Jordan Travis, that's gonna be a big factor to consider. Not only that, man, this Georgia defense is coming in just highly talented, coming off of a big game loss to Alabama. This is not Georgia of old from, when they went into a bowl game against Texas and kind of stunk it up and lost to Texas after, had Texas believing they were back. I want to say that was 2015, 2016, one of those years. But so it had to be 2016, Kirby's second year. But I honestly believe this Georgia FSU game is going to continue to push the narrative and support the narrative that the college football playoff not only needs to be expanded, but you're going to have there's a big drop off between your top 4 to 6 teams in the nation, and then whatever falls behind them is a consistent thing in college football, like you were highlighting earlier, Coach Sean, with the FCS schools and their in the season tournament, their playoff system. You keep finding the same schools in the same position. Um, so I can't wait. But it will be exciting to see teams like James Madison, if they have a season like they had this year, have an opportunity to be in the playoffs and see how they fare against a Power 5 team. Because those are the teams benefiting from the transfer portal and NIL, believe it or not. Those small town teams that are D1 universities that historically have not been there. They have the numbers, the student body, and all this stuff to be D1, but they're not the ideal market. Well, local car dealerships and furniture stores are willing to pay students, $4,000 a week to come to their school. Like come support, bring some attention to this area. So it's going to be exciting. But this Florida State Georgia game, 2 marquee programs, 2 traditional blue bloods that have some history. One more recent than other. I don't see Jameis Winston suiting up no time soon. So for that reason, I don't think Florida State has a chance. And for them to even think that they belong in the likes or on the same field as a healthy Alabama, a healthy Georgia. I mean, not even Georgia, but a healthy Alabama, a healthy Washington, a healthy Texas, a healthy Michigan. Well, I feel like Florida State and Michigan will be a dogfight that shouldn't be a dogfight, but just because of how trash Michigan is. But other than that, man, this Georgia Florida State game, advantage goes to Georgia. More balanced, more athletically sound. They're more assignment sound on the defensive end than what Florida State has been able had the luxury of facing throughout this season with their ACC schedule. What's your take on it, man? I don't see it being much of a matchup, not just because Jordan Travis is out, but this is 2 teams really on a spectrum. Like Florida State's not getting a fair shake right now with having to play Georgia at this time of the year with Jordan Travis being out.
For me, I think the coaching of Kirby Smart is going to be on full display because Kirby's a master. I think he's a better motivator than he is coach. I mean, he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong, but Kirby, his motivational words, I don't know how many people they'll have to sit out. I don't think Georgia's going to have a lot. I think they're going to take this opportunity to send a message to the world. Like we were one of the 4 best teams easily, right? And I don't care if Jordan Travis, no disrespect to that young man, but even if he was playing, I don't think they'd win this game. Georgia is one of the best teams in the country, and I think you're going to see the full TCU on display, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know Florida State's defense is very, very good, and they'll keep them in the game, but they won't consistently stop Georgia in that power game. This is not LSU in the first game. All you got to do is ask yourself and be real. I tell people all the time, the truth is in the details, and the detail is this. If you think Florida State will beat LSU this Saturday, you clearly delusional. Not with the play of Jaden Davis now, not with the play of that offense right now. Sure, Florida State's defense is great, but I don't think they stop LSU now. And if so I understand their anger. I get it, man. I get it. 12-0, non-conference champion, and I do agree with the jargon that they use the injury of Jordan Travis to simplify.
Very inconsistent.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. And I've never liked this system. I've never liked the 4 teams and 5 Power 5 conferences. I thought we would have chaos like this much sooner than this year. I think it's just asinine to create a playoff where you have 4 teams but 5 power conferences. To me, and you can call me a conspiracy guy, I think this stuff was made that way to keep a second SEC team out. I think it was made because they understand where the talent at. They understand what's the best conference. The NFL, the guys who are professionally paid to analyze this stuff, they understand where the talent's at. You go to a Georgia practice, you go to an Alabama practice, an LSU practice, and this is something I know from personal eyeball. It's anywhere from 12 to 24 scouts at every practice. It's not like that at a lot of schools. It's not. You can kid yourself that it is, but it's not. I can go back 4 years. It wasn't like that at Michigan. I can go back 4 years.
It still ain't like that at Michigan. It's still not like that at Michigan.
You can lie to yourself and tell yourself it's like that. These people know where the talent is. They know what conference. And I say this and I'll be done with it. I'll tell the college football fans of these other conferences, and you can say I'm a homer for the SEC, but I'm gonna give you some facts. So if you played this game, it is a big difference. We all have a cupcake in there. Michigan play UNLV. Texas play Houston. Washington plays in the Pac-12. So we can do that all day long. But this is what I'm telling you: to play LSU on one Saturday, the next Saturday you play Ole Miss at Ole Miss. The next Saturday you play Tennessee at Tennessee. The next Saturday you got a home game against Georgia. The next Saturday after that you play Bama. The next Saturday that you play Missouri. It is nowhere in the college football universe that you go through that gauntlet. Playing Maryland, Wisconsin, Wake Forest, and Penn State is not that. Playing TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma State is not that. And surely playing USC, Washington State, and UCLA is not that. And everybody knows that. And that's the truth of the matter. And that preparation is why we're going to beat Michigan. And that preparation is why Georgia will beat Florida State.
Facts. And that's always been a true and deciding factor with teams when it comes to late in the season. Teams that don't get to experience that competitive, close, tight game and early in the season, it always come back to bite them. David Cole, and this is how we end up closing the show tonight, y'all. We're going to get into the comments and just acknowledge some of you all's questions and comments. I like this one right here from David Cole. He said, "How do you think Bama will handle the two tight ends they use on the line?" I think Alabama got to see the best tight end duo in the country in the SEC championship in Delp and Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, even though he wasn't 100%, Brock Bowers at 65, 70% is still better than 75, 80% of the tight ends in the country. Brock Bowers at 75% is better than, 65, 70% of the wide receivers in the country, to be honest. And the way they use them, it wasn't like we took away the opportunities for them to even implement them like they wanted to. He had, maybe 2 big catches against us in the SEC championship game. And it's not like he has blazing speed or anything. I saw us, disciplined sound football from our defense when it came to making adjustments on eliminating Brock Bowers. And that all goes down to scheme to me, and players being comfortable in what the coaches are calling and what they're teaching in preparation. And that's why I say a team like Michigan, your tight end, he's okay, but he's not Brock Bowers. He's not Oscar Delp. He's not Jatavius Sanders from Texas. He's not even the kid from he's not even Mason Thomas from LSU. He's nowhere near that caliber as far as tight ends. Michigan has a solid tight end. He's a good guy, but he's not the caliber of those guys. And to think that Alabama has seen more talented guys at that position and have had great success with making adjustments and stopping them, to feel like that Michigan team who struggles pushing the ball downfield or getting it to anybody in that wide receiver core on a consistent basis, that's not a good thing to ride off of. So I think we're going to fare well against their tight ends. What about you, bro?
For me, you got to ask yourself, if they come out with 2 tights, how are their tight ends going to get open against this secondary? That's what you have to ask yourself. And can your quarterback get the ball to these tight ends with this secondary, right? You got to ask yourself that. You got to ask yourself, it's a lot more than just the tight ends. I get it. They got 2 tight ends, but I want to know, how do they get the ball to these tight ends against this type of defense? If you hold the ball too long, Dallas Turner going to eat. Chris Braswell going to eat. So, it's a lot of things we could ask ourselves, and that's actually a very good question. But we'll end on that, man. And I'll just say, go ahead.
Real quick, before you go,
yeah.
I just want people to look at these stats by the wide receivers for Michigan. Nobody's a deep threat for this team. You have all of these plays. The longest pass reception is a 12-yard catch by Colston Loveland that turned to a 54-yard. The tight end that turned into a 54-yard gain. That was a 12-yard catch. That's poor tackling. I mean, the ball is being spread around. Nobody's like mind blowing. I don't see a person averaging 18 yards a catch, with their passing. And you got JJ McCarthy. The completion percentage is there, but look at the average, man. You're telling me that our DBs, Trey Amos, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terry Arnold, Malachi Moore, Caleb Downs, Christian Story, Jalen Key, who by and my assessment, when he gets to sit on the sticks or above the sticks and play below the sticks in the passing game, that's when we see his skill set be highlighted. But a guy like Christian Story, who's aggressive on breaking on the ball, Michigan loves to throw those curl routes, man. And you're gonna allow Arnold and Kool-Aid and Amos to possibly play that 5 to 8 cushion whenever they feel like they need to on third and precision pass, and you're gonna have the ability to lock up the run game and commit resources like we was talking about. Caleb Downs being able to rotate in the box. If him and Malachi are at the top on that base nickel set, whichever the strong side is, you can rotate either one of them into the box and put the other one over top,
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? They're interchangeable.
Yeah.
And I mean, the flexibility in the secondary, I don't think Michigan has seen the likes of it. And Kevin Steele is dialing up the short corner blitz every chance he gets.
Of course.
So,
I also say this, man. If we want to be technical, Alabama, I said this before the Auburn game, before the Georgia game, I think it was. Alabama is built to beat teams like Michigan. Michigan's going to try to play in a phone booth. That's what Alabama wants you to do. It's the teams like Auburn, Texas, with this trickeration, spread, run all over the field. Those are the teams that give us some issues, right? Those are the teams that give us a few issues, right? Auburn has always done that. You know what I mean? The teams that like to run downhill, run off tackle, 2 tights, 12 personnel. That's Bama's strong point. Go ask Georgia.
That's what we see all spring, bro.
All spring.
That's literally what we saw all spring and all fall camp. You got to see Tommy Rees and the way he likes to implement that 12 and 13 personnel.
Facts.
I mean, even 11 personnel, how he likes to bring the H back, not necessarily as a tight end, but he splits them and then walks them into the run box. It's one of those things where you kind of just like, I don't understand how anybody who claims to watch football says Michigan has an advantage anywhere with the way they run their offense and how this Alabama defense has proven to be one of the top defenses throughout the whole year. Michigan doesn't present anything on any level offensively that can say Alabama can say they haven't seen anything like it or they haven't seen something better. And my thing is, for the fear of Michigan, for Michigan fans, is y'all have been able to see yourselves dominate teams that just don't have. Show me, I think your best recruiting class or fielded recruiting class talent-wise that you played against was Maryland. Their talent on the field, ratings-wise, was higher than Ohio State and Penn State this year. So if that was the best that you've seen, just go look at those recruiting rankings and some of those guys that spread out across that field and the type of talent that they have on the field, and they took y'all to the wire. Alabama's probably going. I'm gonna let it go. But anyways,
every time Michigan comes out in 12 personnel, Coach Saban is smiling. Trust me.
Yes, every time. Every time.
You
just like with Georgia.
That's a fact. Every time you guys come out in 12 personnel, you are doing exactly what Alabama wants you to do. Go ask Kirby. Facts. Right. And I'm gonna say this and we off of it. Like my last comment to all the Michigan fans, to Carlos, to all the Michigan fans in here, know this, man. You have a 2-team conference, brother. You have 1 game a year. Everybody know that. Don't sell me on Penn State. They sucked forever. Don't sell me on Maryland. Don't sell me on Wisconsin. You have a 1-game season. Everybody in the whole country know that, right? The only reason they're putting Michigan in over Georgia because they want some kind of representation up there. And of course, you went undefeated. You said some while ago, Alabama act like they're undefeated. Alabama would be undefeated. We was in that conference. Trust me on that. Trust me on that, brother.
Easily.
Go ask your best have taken L's from our best. So roll tide to you though.
Roll tide, man. And with that being said, y'all, we appreciate y'all showing up tonight. Tonight has been another eventful episode. We were really locked in on just talking college football tonight. Didn't have an agenda. You all make it easy to come in here and talk football and just be who we are. I appreciate y'all, man. Everybody that's been showing support throughout the all the social media platforms. We definitely appreciate you all being supportive in what we're doing. Um, Coach Jay, tell the people where they can, I mean Coach Sean, tell the people where they can find you. We missing our brother.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Coach Jay. You can find me at JMHO Sportscast. That's for just my humble opinion on Twitter, and right here with the man Cal Henderson himself on Bama Football on YouTube. Tap in, and we appreciate all of you.
For
Even you,
sure.
Carlos. You all right, brother.
Look, for sure, man. And y'all already know y'all can find your boy at Coach Smook on every platform. Man, we just we doing it. Twitter is really popping right now. I think for all three of us, me, Coach Jay, and Coach Sean, y'all start getting in on some of those posts and some of those discussions. That's really where it gets active, especially with the downtime. We don't have the games coming up that Bama's not playing every weekend right now. So definitely, my boy Carlos Fulton said, "Kings of the one-score game." Well, it would be awesome to see y'all play a team that can score more than once.
Facts. One game at the end of the season.
Like,
stop it,
Carlos. I can't wait, man. I'm telling you. And when I bring this heat, bro, no bars, nothing's being held back. I'm sorry. The Bama Nation has been begging for me to come and get you. I've got people that literally show up after the show and inbox, be like, "Hey, man, why you at this car?" I like Carlos. He's standing on business.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that.
Pretty
Never
weak,
disrespectful.
pretty weak business, but he's standing
Coach
on
Moore.
business.
Hold on. Gotta say shout out to Gil Cruz, man. That's my brother.
Overton coming. I wanted to say something.
Gil, shout out to you, Gil. That's my brother right there, man. He a coach as well, man. Shout out to Gil. Shout out to you, brother. I know what you're going through, man. Hey, God is good to you, Gil. I love you, brother. I love you. Please tap in with us, man. I love seeing you in here, bro.
Facts, man.
He know that ball too.
I already know it. But Overton and the other kid from A&M, Evan Stewart. Stewart might people haven't been Evan Stewart is a he's a mature beyond his persona, his personality, very mature. He's not a media guy. A lot of people thought he was coming out of high school. It was an experience for him. My thing is, I think if Evan Stewart comes to Alabama with Malik Benson coming back next year and Isaiah Barnes, Kendrick Law, Ryan Williams joining this class, Grimesley, Jalen Hale, this will be another deep rotational wide receiver group. And I can't wait, man. But Overton coming on that D line is definitely, it makes sense for guys like Hastings and Barnes, Anquan Barnes leaving. And I think we might see one more name. Might be a sad thing, but at the end of the day, these kids got to go and play, especially when they've been here 2 years trying to get on that field. It's hard to get on their field after that second year, on the field. So shouts out to everybody, though. I don't want to get back into it. Got to go tonight. But appreciate you all pulling up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow both of us on both platforms. And don't forget to stay tuned to Bama Football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson. You got your best content, Alabama football content coming from this channel here. I'm going to be keeping it popping for you all. And see y'all on the other side, man. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide to everybody.